So it's been about a week since I was arrested on Waterloo Bridge, and I wanted to make a video to try and explain a bit about my journey leading up to this point and explain a bit about things, because I think this probably will have come as a bit of a shock to some people, and it'll be good to try and explain that. So I think all of this started about 10 years ago. I went to a big march in London called the Blue Wave, and it was just before the Copenhagen Climate Summit in 2009. There's about 20,000 people there. And I remember thinking this was really cool. I was kind of doing something important and that it would actually help, the governments to make some agreements at this summit. And I came home and the next day, I don't think it was hardly even on TV. And the Copenhagen summit was an absolute failure. The governments didn't manage to do anything, and I was really disappointed. I was like, all of those people, didn't achieve anything, and I was really gutted. But then, I suppose I just carried on with my life. I knew about global warming a bit. I suppose, like probably other people, didn't really know how dangerous it was. And we're in an era of cheap air travel, and I was flying around doing my thing and winning the Olympics. But it wasn't until after I retired in 2016 that I really started to learn more about this, and I started to find out more about what's going on in the world. The freak weather events, the collapse of habitats, all of the stuff going on. That's like, wow, this is actually happening. And I started to act. I started to do petitions and online campaigns. Wrote to my MP. And I made some, fairly significant lifestyle changes as well. But it was only really in 2018 that I realised that we were in an emergency situation. And it's actually quite complicated to explain, and I really recommend somebody who explained it to me very well, a guy called Kevin Anderson, not the tennis player, the climate scientist, climate and energy scientist. And he kind of explained to me why we're in such a difficult situation. And as well, I was starting to see how our government seemed to be doing like things opposite to the way that I think they need to go. So for example, allowing fracking and the expansion of Heathrow and the third runway. To me, that seems to be the exact opposite direction that we need to be moving in. And so it's kind of around that time now, sort of in the summer, autumn of 2018, two things happen. I came across Greta Thunberg and her school strikes, and it was quite amazing. I feel kind of my hair stand up thinking about her, that brave young woman just kind of defiantly doing something. It was really, really inspiring. And then I came across Extinction Rebellion, and I really was interested in their model and their ideas, and they were advocating, that individuals need to make changes, and that's important. But what they were really saying was that governments at national and international level need to take action and make changes. And for me, that was really, really powerful. And also they were talking about a non-violent direct action model of the similar sort to the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King and Gandhi. And, in the southern states of the United States, when black people started climbing on buses, there was a lot of disruption, a lot of fuss, there were arrests and worse, but it actually served to draw attention to this massive injustice that they were facing. And Extinction Rebellion were talking about using non-violent direct action to take action on climate situation. And I wondered to myself, maybe I could do that. And I kind of started a big, deep phase of soul searching and really figuring this out for myself, because, it's really difficult to think about doing something like that. And then in November 2018, Extinction Rebellion had a big action called Rebellion Day in London, and they blocked 5 bridges. And I was one of the people on one of those bridges, and I was arrested that day. And I'm released under investigation at this point for willful obstruction of the highway. And at that time, I went down incognito, just as a person, just really worried about being recognised, probably, no one was going to recognise, but I was very worried. I didn't want to broadcast this situation. I didn't know how people would react, but I felt really strongly that it was important that I be counted, and I am proud that I was there that day. And very few people actually know about that, and I figure now is really, I may as well tell people, because it is going to come out and people probably would like to know about it. But now I come to my actions of last weekend, and I really did feel that that was my time to lend my weight to this cause, to reveal fully this really important part of me. And I'm an Olympic champion. I'm a very modestly powerful person, but I really do feel it's important to do what you can with what you have. That for me is what this is all about. And for me, that's a really powerful statement. Everyone I met on those bridges, and including myself, has something to lose, something important. And I and they seem to be willing to trade that for action on this injustice. And it is an injustice. The destruction of our future, the destruction of our home, that not enough is being done about, is just so wrong, and I can't let that happen. And I suppose that day, I was arrested on the bridge. I've been released under investigation again for willful obstruction of the highway and failure to comply with the order. And now it's up to me, to stand by my actions. I take full responsibility for what I did, and there will be some consequences. But I think it's really, really interesting to see now what the government will do, because this has worked. This has brought this climate emergency issue into the public consciousness, and it's put it onto the desks of our politicians, and that's really where it needs to be. And we don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen next. I just know for right now, I'm going to have to get my head down and keep my head down. I've got a degree to finish. I need to write my dissertation. But I encourage everybody to find out about what is going on here. Find out about Extinction Rebellion. Find out about the climate emergency. Use reliable sources. Sir David Attenborough, Climate Change, the Facts, on the BBC iPlayer. That is an amazing place to start. And once you really open your heart, really get a handle of what this climate emergency means to you and your future, to the future of your family and the people you care about, to your hopes and dreams. Once you really get that, then you can decide how to act. And that's what I decided to do. I've had this question rolling round and round in my head for a long time. And it's, if not me, who? And if not now, when? And that's why I decided to act. And this is an emergency, so please act now. Thank you.